Hi folks, back with another vlog. This is Uncle Grandpa episode 1, Belly Bros. This is a commission video for Shane Denota Hoffman. So, going in, I knew essentially nothing about Uncle Grandpa. I had a vague impression that it was weird. And generally not well liked, was the impression I got. I enjoyed this episode, though. I was kind of expecting... So, when I was looking to find somewhere where I could watch the episode, I thought the Cartoon Network website had it, so I went to their page. And they only had clips, but I happened to see like one-sentence synopsis of the episode there. So I knew that going in, it would be Uncle Grandpa helping a kid deal with his weight. Make him accepting of the fact that he's fat. And so I was kind of hoping for like, oh my god, are we going to be fat positive for once? Ish is how it ended up. I will say from the first thing that hit me though was like how surreal this show is. The sequence where Uncle Grandpa is like getting up in the morning. I'm not actually sure if that was the opening credits or the beginning of the episode, but yeah. I immediately... Well, I'll talk more about references later in the episode, but just to start off, he comes from a deeply surreal world and is a deeply surreal character. Bits of him can be detached and reattached. He can be in more than one place at once. Just all kinds of weird stuff. There's like a whole other dimension inside of his van. Weird stuff. And then... So, the kid's having trouble getting his shirt on, and I mean, I definitely know the feeling of not being able to fit a favorite shirt anymore and being like, never fun when that happens, because it means you have to go and get a new shirt, which means you have to go and shop for clothes, which is one of the most boring activities known to humanity. So, it sucks. But, I mean, I suppose, I've never done it, but I suppose the same thing would happen if you lost weight and your favorite shirt was now way too big and baggy to be worn in public anymore. And then same thing, you have to go to the store and buy a new shirt and it sucks. So yeah. That aside, I was starting to talk about how it was such a surreal thing. One of the things it did that was interesting was sometimes it ran on what you might call cartoon logic, where things work because they look like they should work. For example, when his reflection reaches into the drawer and pulls out all the noses, visually the reflection is right there on the other side of the mirror, so it can reach through. The drawer is within arm reach of the mirror, so it can reach through and grab stuff out. Or the way it plays with perspective in the when he reaches into his fanny pack for a new shirt for the kid. And he reaches into that drawer and opens it and pulls out another drawer and then opens that and then pulls the shirt out of that. And then when he pulls the shirt out of his belly bag, it's enormous. Size is all mixed up. but that's because, perspective is something of an illusion, and so it can be manipulated visually. That's cartoon logic. But it mixes that with dream logic. What I mean by dream logic is things that are connected by tenuous associations rather than anything like that makes sense logically in like our normal real life logic or in the visual cartoon logic. Like, for example, I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a low-flying plane going overhead. It's actually kind of astounding that that doesn't happen more often when I'm recording these, because I live just a few blocks from what I think is an Air Force base. It might be Army. But yeah. So, I hear things from there all the time. I'm surprised it hasn't happened in a video before. Anyway, like I was saying, a good example of that is once they pull out the giant shirt and put it on the kid, he vanishes and goes to the world of the Nightwolves. Which makes sense only because the shirt is huge and cavernous and has the Nightwolves painted on the front. I mean, it's a very tenuous association, but it's the kind of thing that can happen in a dream. The wolves taking you to their den, and the pun of, it's a den, like in someone's house. That's, again, same kind of dream logic. These kinds of tenuous associations that connect together the episode. So, that was cool. I liked that. I liked the creativity of it, the inventiveness of it. I don't feel like, I know that there's a bajillion episodes of it, and that worries me, because I feel like this is the kind of thing that gets old fast. This kind of random humor. And it does seem to be what they're going for, given that there's what I'm pretty sure is a reference to ASDF movie. The way he says "I like trains" is just like the "I like trains" boy in one of the ASDF movies. I think it's the first or second. Not certain. Might be more than one. But there's this recurring gag of somebody saying "I like trains" and then getting hit by a train. And that's exactly how... Uncle Grandpa says it in the Uncle Grandpa voice, but otherwise it's exactly how that kid says "I like trains." And the ASDF movies are this kind of rapid-fire, random humor with a touch of the surreal. Very much an early 2000s internet humor kind of thing. And although I think they were actually made quite a bit later than that. But regardless, that's what they are. And that's not something I feel like can be sustained across an entire series of, even if the stories are only like 8 or 10 minutes, like this one, I still don't think that can be sustained across, 50, 100, however many there are. It's a huge number. I just don't see that working without having some actual characters. And I feel like this is a show that has jokes rather than characters. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like that lends itself to something shorter or something that has like a huge number of characters that it can swap between, like Looney Tunes or Animaniacs or one of those things where like you watch an episode and it's, segments with different characters, not the same every single time, which it seems like that's what Uncle Grandpa is going for, that, Uncle Grandpa and his couple of friends are going to be, every episode, and they're all going to be the same kind of humor. Obviously, I've only seen the first episode, so maybe that's not true. Maybe the next episode is something completely different. But that's what it feels like. You know? So there's that. Also, Uncle Grandpa himself is... Like, on the one hand, I like the concept. I like the weirdness of him. I like the way in this very cartoony world he's cartoonier than everyone else. It reminds me a little of... I'm blanking on his name. The Dodo in Tiny Toon Adventures. Where he was like the cartooniest of them all. But, so I like that. I like generally the idea that he's everyone's uncle and everyone's grandpa. That he's this kind of archetypal figure. Because there is something a bit magical about uncles and grandfathers. It's very common for a main character's mentor in folk tales and fantasy stories and so forth to be either a male relative other than their father, like their uncle or their grandfather, or a friend of the family who is like an uncle or a grandfather. Because it's the right combination of familiarity and distance. They're familiar enough that you know that you can trust them, but they're distant enough to be a bit mysterious. And they've been around, they've been an adult since you were born, so they've got a little bit of, when you're a kid, they've got a little bit of power to them. They're a little bit magical, because they can do things that you cannot. So all those combined, it makes sense. At the same time, his voice is incredibly annoying. The idea of someone who is both your uncle and your grandpa is squeaky. Because that means either one of your parents or you are the product of incest. So already there's like this whole thing around the character that's like, just don't think about that. He's an archetype, not a person, not actual blood relative, so don't worry about that. But it calls up this thing that then you have to be like, no, don't want to think about that. That's gross. But yeah. It's kind of gross stuff there. Otherwise, this was a fun, kind of silly episode. I enjoyed it. It did not leave me craving more the way that, like, Steven Universe did. But it was alright. I would not be averse at some point to watching a little bit more of it, but I don't think I'd want to do a full vlog series on every episode. Speaking of Steven Universe, next time we start Steven Universe Season 2. I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, I'm about to go watch it and then record it right now. So, see y'all then. Bye.